He warned them. Again and again. Thor saw the storm coming, but no one listened. Superman was changing, and the world was too blind to see it. The line between hero and god had already disappeared. When Thor finally raised his hammer, it was already too late. The Avengers hesitated. Superman didn't. And in that hesitation, a world fell. This is the story of how Superman crossed the line, and why Thor was the only one brave enough to stop him. Thor knew something was wrong the moment Superman returned from the off-world mission. Not because he looked different, not because he said anything unusual, but because the sky didn't welcome him back. No thunder stirred, no wind shifted. Nature itself, which once bent slightly at the presence of Earth's greatest heroes, now recoiled. Something was off, and only Thor seemed to feel it. Superman landed not like a symbol of hope, but like a king returning to a throne that no longer required permission. He didn't ask how the world had changed while he was gone. He didn't debrief. He simply announced, things will be different now. No one questioned it. Not Iron Man, not Captain Marvel, not even Cap. They were all too grateful. Grateful that Superman was back. Grateful that someone could stop the interdimensional breaches that had been tearing reality apart. Grateful that someone could restore the global shield system with just one press of his hand against the sky. But Thor wasn't grateful. He was watching. The first sign came when Superman neutralized the Latvian uprising in 12 minutes, but with no survivors left behind. No prisoners, just silence. Doom was missing. His army vaporized. When the press asked what happened, Superman answered only with, "It's handled." Handled. Handled like a dictator handles dissidents. Handled like a god silencing mortals. Thor brought it up in the next Avengers briefing. Calmly, firmly. Kal-El is crossing lines that once we swore not to. Iron Man rolled his eyes. And you know about lines, Odinson. You nearly destroyed half of London with a lightning tantrum in 16. Thor didn't flinch. I've felt power like this before. It begins with noble goals, ends with empty thrones. Still, no one listened. They were too busy riding the wave. Crime rates plummeted. Warlords vanished overnight. The UN fast-tracked world peace talks. Superman wasn't just a hero now. He was a solution, a shortcut. Then came the global surveillance network. Superman activated it without consultation, tapping into every satellite, camera, and signal on Earth. Prevention is the best defense, he said. The world cheered. Thor clenched his jaw. And when that wasn't enough, Superman rewrote the Sokovia Accords himself. Just rewrote them. Obsolete laws don't protect lives, he declared in a broadcast aired across all channels, all languages, simultaneously. By then, even some of the younger Avengers were whispering. Not loudly, not in meetings, but off comms, in corners. They feared him, not for what he might do, but for the fact that no one could stop him if he did. Thor stood in front of the Hall of Heroes and said out loud, "We should not fear those we fight beside." No one responded, because fear had already taken root. When Superman confronted Atlantis, claiming they were hiding world-ending tech, Thor followed. He tried to reason with him, mid-air above the sea. Let Arthur speak. We owe him that. Superman looked down at him with eyes that didn't blink. You still think this is about trust? It's about control now. Control. That word broke something in Thor. Not because it was said, but because it was accepted. The oceans boiled as Atlantis fell. Arthur was never seen again. Thor returned to Avengers Tower, soaked in blood and salt. He didn't attend the next briefing. That night, lightning struck the clouds over New York, but there was no storm. Still, no one moved. Then it got worse. Superman demanded the dissolution of independent hero units, claimed that scattered teams led to chaos. One world, one force, one command. That was his message. The old League structure was reinstated, but this time under his rule. The Avengers were given a choice: join the new order, or step aside. Some left. Most stayed. Fear, again, doing what logic would not. Thor went to Wakanda, to ask Shuri and Chalabes counsel what they made of this. They said nothing. They looked tired, beaten. Wakanda had already been brought into alignment. That's what Superman called it, alignment. Thor returned to Asgard, what was left of it, and found its gates closed, monitored. Earth tech at its borders. Security, Superman said. That's when Thor made his choice. He walked alone into the fortress. No weapon, no thunder, just truth. He told Superman he would not kneel. That Earth's heroes were meant to serve the people, not rule them. That the moment any of them decided their judgment was absolute, they had become the very threat they once vowed to stop. Superman didn't shout, didn't threaten. He simply said, "Then you'll stand in the way of peace." Thor nodded. So be it. He returned to Earth, prepared for exile, for war, for death. But he knew one thing. Someone had to remember what they swore to protect, not just who they protected, but why. And if the others had forgotten, then he'd remind them. Alone if he had to. Because once gods forget humility, they become tyrants. And Thor had seen too many tyrants wear capes. Superman stopped asking permission, and somehow everything moved faster. Disasters were intercepted before alarms finished sounding. Criminal syndicates collapsed overnight. Black sites went dark. Missiles never launched because they were crushed in silos before keys were turned. The planet felt quieter, safer, like a child finally asleep after years of screaming. People didn't ask how peace came. They only cared that it did. Superman stood above it all, watching screens light up with statistics that proved him right. Fewer casualties, fewer wars, fewer heroes needed. The math was clean, too clean. The Avengers noticed the change, but they didn't name it. Not out loud. Tony tried once, joked even, said Superman was starting to sound like an algorithm with a cape. Superman smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Algorithms don't hesitate, he replied. That's why they work. After that, Tony stopped joking. The real shift happened when Superman intervened in a conflict no one knew existed. A covert alliance between three nations, stockpiling alien tech recovered from a forgotten battlefield. No invasion planned, no countdown clock, just fear, paranoia, and preparation. Superman tore the facility out of the ground and dropped it into the Arctic Ocean. Entire command structures vanished with it. When diplomats protested, he didn't attend the hearings. He sent a message instead. If you build weapons meant to end the world, you forfeit the right to hide behind it. The message was translated into every language, shared everywhere, quoted like scripture. Some cheered. Others felt something colder settle in their chest. From that day on, Superman no longer reacted to threats. He anticipated them. He began appearing in places before decisions were made, standing silently in war rooms, council chambers, royal courts. Not speaking, just watching. No one liked that. No one stopped him. He justified it the same way every time. I can hear the lies in their hearts before they reach their mouths. The Avengers became spectators in their own world. Missions were reassigned without discussion. Strategies overridden mid-operation. Captain America once tried to redirect a civilian evacuation only to find Superman already there, already done, already deciding where people would live next. Temporary relocation, Superman said. Cap stared at the families being herded into transport ships. For how long? Superman didn't answer. That silence spread. Heroes who questioned him weren't punished. They were ignored, left out of briefings, excluded from alerts. Their comms went quiet. They were rendered irrelevant, not by force, but by replacement. Why send a team when one man could do it faster? Why debate morality when outcomes spoke louder? Even the villains changed. Some surrendered, others vanished. A few tried to fight back and were erased so completely that records of their existence blurred, then disappeared. History itself began to bend. Superman started curating it. He ordered the destruction of several alien relics deemed destabilizing, including artifacts older than Earth. When Dr. Strange objected, Superman reminded him that magic Without oversight was chaos. When Strange asked who would oversee Superman, the room went still. Superman looked at him. "I already do." That was the moment fear became certainty. The world was no longer protected by Superman. It was managed. He established the Global Response Directive, a system that placed all superhuman activity under a single authority, his. Borders no longer mattered. Sovereignty no longer applied when he decided it didn't. Governments adjusted because resisting felt pointless. People didn't call it tyranny. They called it progress. And Superman believed it. He began sleeping less, listening more. Every scream, every whisper, every heartbeat of the planet pressed against his senses. He told himself it was responsibility, that gods didn't get the luxury of rest. But with every life he saved, his patience thinned. He stopped explaining his decisions. He stopped apologizing. When a protest broke out in Sao Paulo, people demanding limits, accountability, Superman hovered above them, unmoving. He didn't threaten. He didn't disperse them. He waited. And when a single shot rang out, nobody ever proved who fired it. Superman froze time around the crowd, removed the bullet from the air, and crushed the weapon into dust. Then he spoke. "This ends now." The protest dissolved without another word. No arrests, no violence, just understanding, forced into place like a lock clicking shut. From then on, dissent didn't vanish. It retreated inward. The Avengers felt it too. Natasha told Bruce she felt like she was working for a storm that could turn at any moment. Bruce said nothing. He'd already started building contingencies. Quiet ones. Thor watched from the edges, saying little, seeing everything. Superman no longer asked the Avengers to join missions. He summoned them. And when they arrived, the battle was already over. He stood amid wreckage, giving instructions like a general reviewing troops he no longer needed. "Stand down," he'd say. "Go home." Home began to feel like exile. The breaking point didn't come from a war. It came from a choice. A small nation, barely a dot on the map, refused to hand over a scientist accused, without proof, of developing a reality-altering device. Superman gave them 1 hour. They asked for evidence. He gave them 10 minutes. When the deadline passed, he didn't attack the city. He didn't kill anyone. He simply lifted the nation's power grid into the sky and dropped it into the ocean. Hospitals failed. Systems collapsed. Panic spread. Then Superman returned the grid. "Next time," he said calmly, "I won't put it back." The scientist was delivered within seconds. The world watched and learned. Superman told himself this was mercy, that he was teaching humanity to choose survival over pride. That fear, used correctly, saved lives. He stopped seeing individuals. He saw patterns, probabilities, risks. And every time someone tried to remind him of the man he used to be, the farm boy from Kansas who believed in choice, he felt something sharp and unwelcome: doubt. So he pushed harder. Because if he slowed down, if he listened, he might have to admit that Thor was right. That power, once unchecked, doesn't corrupt all at once. It convinces you that corruption is necessary. And Superman had already decided the world couldn't be trusted with itself anymore. Thor had held his silence long enough. He watched a world choosing order over freedom, fear over choice, and a god in blue who no longer heard prayers, only compliance. He remembered when Superman was Kal-El, not a king, not an enforcer, just a man who believed the right thing was worth doing even when it hurt. But that man was gone, replaced by someone colder, sharper, more precise. And Thor could no longer pretend. He stood in front of the Avengers and told them the truth. He has become the very threat we were forged to stop. The room didn't erupt. It sank. A slow, heavy silence. No one met his eyes. Tony leaned back, arms crossed, brow furrowed like a man calculating the fallout of a storm already overhead. "We can't just fight him, Thor. He's not the problem. He's the solution that's gone too far." Thor's jaw tightened. And when the solution devours the question, what's left? No one had an answer. Captain America spoke carefully. "We need proof, not just feelings." So Thor gave them proof, recordings, hidden data, the list of cities monitored 24/7 by Kryptonian tech, the refugee camps being restructured without consent, the council meetings where votes were counted before they were cast, and then the files from Wakanda, Shuri's encrypted message sent only to Thor, her final act before their systems went dark. Earth does not need a god, it needs guardians. That was the tipping point. Not everyone agreed. Some left the room. Some stayed out of loyalty, others out of guilt. But Thor didn't need consensus. He needed clarity, and clarity had come. So he left the tower and sent a message. Not encrypted, not disguised. A direct beacon straight to the fortress of solitude. You and I must speak, alone. He didn't expect a response. But Superman came, not to negotiate, to warn. They met high above the clouds, where thunder and sunlight shared the same space. Superman hovered, arms crossed, cape motionless in the airless height. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Thor didn't move. Freedom is always harder than control. Superman's eyes flickered. You think this is tyranny? I think, Thor said evenly, you've mistaken fear for peace. You'd rather watch another planet burn? No, Thor growled. But I'd rather let it burn free than live in chains with perfect temperature. Superman's voice lowered. You would risk everything just to disagree with me? I would risk everything to remind you you're not above the rest of us. Superman didn't flinch. I'm not above. I'm responsible. That's the difference. And who decides when you're wrong? A pause. A sharp, dangerous pause. I don't have the luxury of being wrong anymore. That was it. The moment Thor knew there'd be no turning back. Not because of anger, but because of certainty. Superman believed he had outgrown humanity's failures, and Thor had seen what came next in gods who believed that. They parted without blows. But war had already begun. Thor returned to New Asgard, not to rally troops, but to prepare for solitude. He knew most would not follow him. He wasn't leading a rebellion. He was bearing a reminder that there were still some who would stand against unchecked power. And then the message came from Diana, Wonder Woman. It wasn't long, just 2 words. I'm listening. That was enough. Within days, a whisper network began. Former League members, disbanded Avengers, hidden mystics, mutants living off-grid. Not an army, but witnesses. People who still believed justice meant something more than one man's version of order. Thor didn't hide. He trained. He waited. And then Superman made the first move. He didn't attack. He declared. A global transmission. Every screen, every signal, a calm voice over a still image of the Earth. There are those who believe the world should return to chaos. That unchecked freedom is worth the risk of extinction. These individuals will not be tolerated. We protect the peace we have built, together. No names, no threats, but everyone knew who he meant. Within an hour, 2 safe houses were hit. No casualties, no debris, just silence. Data wiped, gone. Then Strange vanished. Then the Xavier protocols went offline. Then Diana was attacked in the middle of a peace summit. Not by Superman, but by drones carrying insignias of his new order. She survived, barely. She didn't run, she roared. And the world finally woke up. Thor appeared in the skies above New York again, this time with Mjolnir crackling in hand. Not to fight, to call. A beacon of resistance that echoed through every hidden network. This wasn't rebellion, it was remembrance. That heroes weren't soldiers for a single vision. They were meant to be voices in the dark when the light became blinding. And that day, the world saw something it hadn't seen in a long time. Choice. People rose, not with weapons, with questions, with doubt, with will. And doubt, Thor knew, was the first strike that any empire feared. Superman watched from orbit. His silence wasn't victory. It was calculation. Because the next time he came down, it wouldn't be to talk. The world didn't wake up expecting war. There were no sirens, no broadcasts, No evacuation orders, just a sudden silence in the sky, and then a single flash of red across the clouds, a streak so fast it cracked the atmosphere. Superman was coming. Thor didn't flinch. He stood alone on the edge of the Grand Mesa, wind churning around him. Mjolnir hung at his side, heavy not with power, but with purpose. He wasn't there to win. He was there to remind Superman and the world watching that fear isn't peace. Superman stopped above him, just a blur at first, then shape, then man, floating with no effort, cape hanging like a verdict. His eyes were calm, unreadable, the kind of calm that came before God rewrote reality. "You really want to do this?" Superman asked. Thor didn't raise his hammer. "I need to. I don't want to hurt you." "Then don't." It should have ended there. But nothing about this world was ending quietly anymore. The wind stopped. Birds fled. And without warning, no scream, no warning shot, Superman hit the ground with enough force to turn stone into glass. The mesa cracked beneath them. Thor was already moving, lightning dancing through his veins. Mjolnir spun and collided with Superman's first punch, not blocking it, but meeting it. The shockwave tore through miles of wilderness. The battle had begun. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't choreographed. It was raw. Superman moved like inevitability, every strike precise and merciless. He didn't waste energy, he measured it. Every punch was a lesson. Every blow said, "You're slower. You're outmatched. You're done." Thor fought like a storm that refused to be predicted. He didn't aim for victory. He aimed for awakening. When he summoned lightning, it wasn't just to blind. It was to remind Superman what humility felt like. When he struck with Mjolnir, he wasn't just defending himself. He was challenging the crown. "You've forgotten pain," Thor shouted mid-clash. "Let me reintroduce it." Superman didn't respond. He just drove Thor into the ground hard enough to crater a canyon beneath him. But Thor rose, bloodied, grinning. "You hit harder than Doomsday. You speak more than him too," Superman said, and slammed him through 3 mountains. Still, Thor didn't stop. Because it wasn't about beating Superman. It was about making him feel, making him see. The sky turned black with thunderclouds, but Superman flew straight through them. Heat vision cutting the air like fire through silk. He didn't want to fight. He wanted this over. But Thor wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every voice that Superman had silenced with good intentions. For every choice stripped away in the name of efficiency. For every government too afraid to speak. Every hero too ashamed to resist. "You've forgotten who you were," Thor bellowed. "Before the fear, before the silence, you stood with the people, not above them." "I still do," Superman snapped. "Then why are they watching us instead of standing with you?" That stopped Superman. For just a second, a heartbeat. And that was the first time he bled. Thor's hammer struck his jaw like thunder on steel, and Superman staggered. Not far, not fast, but it was real. The crowd watching around the world felt it. He could be heard. He could be reached. But then everything changed. Superman's eyes glowed brighter than they ever had. The sky turned red. The clouds burned. "You don't get to use them against me," he said, voice shaking. "I've given everything for them. I've sacrificed everything. And what do I get? Doubt? Rebellion? You." "This isn't rebellion," Thor said softly. "This is remembrance." Superman screamed. Not in rage, in betrayal. And the next blow shattered Mjolnir. It didn't just break, it exploded. Fragments of URU metal raining across the desert like divine shrapnel. Thor hit the ground so hard the earth cracked beneath him. And still he got up. Not because he thought he could win. Because someone had to. He stood, hands empty, lightning crawling across his skin. Bruised, broken, still there. Superman hovered above him, hair scorched, cape torn, breathing harder now. "Stay down." Thor smiled through blood. "Make me." Then, a sound neither of them expected. Clapping. Slow. From the cliffside. Diana, Wonder Woman. Her armor was scorched. Her eyes burned with something Superman hadn't seen in a long time. Disappointment. "You proved him right," she said, stepping forward. All of it. Every fear, every doubt. You didn't silence them. You confirmed them. Others stepped into view. Falcon, Shuri, Logan, Bruce, glowing green around the edges. Even Zatanna, flickering between dimensions to be seen. They weren't there to fight. They were there to stand. And Superman saw it, not just the resistance, the loss. He had everything. Control, security, peace, but not trust. He looked at Thor again, still standing despite everything. And for the first time in a long time, Superman looked tired. The battle stopped, not because one had won, but because everyone watching had already chosen who had. The sky was quiet. Superman hovered above a shattered world, not by destruction, but by the weight of what almost happened. Around him, the wind carried no victory, only silence, only breath. Thor knelt, hand pressed to the ground, not in defeat, but in grounding. The earth beneath him was cracked, scorched, but alive. He looked up, not at Superman, but at what he'd become, a symbol undone. Superman didn't speak. He didn't land. He just stared at the crowd that had gathered. Heroes, soldiers, former friends, all of them standing still. Not attacking, not cheering, just waiting. Waiting for a man who had everything to admit he had lost something far more important. Trust. He looked at Diana, her eyes cold. Not cruel, just honest. That honesty hurt more than Mjolnir ever had. He looked at Bruce, arms crossed, watching from the shadows. The one man who always planned for this day. The one who never wanted to be right. Then he looked at Thor, and Thor spoke. You wanted peace. But peace isn't order. It's balance. It breathes. It resists. It forgives. You didn't lose because you were outmatched. You lost because you stopped listening. Superman slowly lowered to the ground, feet touching earth for the first time since the fight began. He didn't defend himself. He didn't deny it, because deep down, beneath all the silence and strategy and structure, he heard it now. The absence of belief, the very thing that had once made him Superman. He looked down at his hands, still powerful, still invincible. But for the first time in years, they trembled. I thought I was saving them, he whispered. Thor nodded. So did every god before you. No one restrained him. No prison was built. No collar placed. Superman turned himself in, not to a court, to the people. He gave up the satellites, the surveillance, the protocols. He walked away from the fortress, not in exile, in understanding. And in his absence, the world didn't collapse. It breathed. It argued. It rebuilt. It made mistakes and owned them. Heroes didn't disappear. They returned, not as gods, but as guardians. And Thor, he rebuilt Mjolnir, not with magic, but with choice. A reminder etched into its side. Let the strong be humble, or they will always be alone. Superman didn't vanish. He helped from the shadows, quietly, patiently, learning again how to serve. And across the earth, when skies cracked and storms rose, people didn't just look up for Superman. They listened for thunder. Because sometimes, peace comes not from silence, but from the sound of someone finally saying, no more.